At this time, I'm going to call this meeting back to order. It's being reconvened from this morning's meeting. We're going to continue discussion on the budget. You know, do we need to look at, we've looked at revenue sources. I know Tyler was talking about possibly getting a collection service in that could, I don't know if we've anticipated any money on that or not, but,
I don't think that's anything
it's
that's going to be of any significance.
okay.
I mean, we've already had a collection agency, so I mean, there may be a small change, but it's not going to be a major influx of revenue.
I know Scott, we've tried some revenue things with Scott, the sheriff's department, and that's not been very helpful either. To get where we're at in the budget, we actually used, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going off memory, but like 45,000 from a carryover from our last one. Okay, to get where we're at now,
Which is zero.
which is
Exactly, right.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, actually, I had to finish it by taking $5,000 out of contingency, so. Because we were actually in the hole again.
So that, it's worth mentioning on a public record that the longer we wait on this, the more money we're spending.
We're spending out of
Without seeing it every day. So that is a factor in the timeline of when we approve this. I'm not sure if everybody realizes that that's not been involved with the talks, but it's a factor. So if we had complete flexibility to continue to wait until we had every piece of available information, that'd be nice, but it's not quite that simple.
Does anyone have anything they want to add?
I guess to go off of that, I understand the ideal scenario is for us to do a time study before we start making decisions on a budget. However, we're already behind, and I like the phrasing that Tyler came up with, it's a 5-alarm fire for a county to have a budget. So it's already impeding office holders from doing their jobs without one. It's not an ideal circumstance, I understand that. But to continue to wait will be even, we're making it worse, I guess is what I'm saying.
I had some questions about some things that have possibly happened, but those have been answered. Did office holders have anything they'd like to say?
I'm not an office holder, but I do have a question. Okay, about this time study, when is that going to start? And is it going to be for all the offices and everyone who has a contract, or have you decided on that?
We talked about that this morning, and it will be for everybody. I don't know when it's going to start, but we did talk about that.
And then when you do pass the budget, which I'm sure you're probably going to, when is these cuts going to go into effect? I mean, is it immediately? Is today the people's last day, or what? Have you decided on that? Because our office does have an election.
I don't think it can go into effect at least
Till the 15th.
15 days. Now, I'm not sure on the procedure after that.
Well, I don't think there's any particular procedure regarding layoffs, I mean, the issue is you can't spend money that's not appropriated.
Right.
But we've been spending money that's not appropriated for
Right.
2 months, so it's kind of an academic exercise. So that's really up to those in charge. There's no specific answer to that.
The
So it's
budget
gonna be up
board,
to the board then to decide when those people will be laid off, or is it the office holder?
Well, ultimately, it's up to the office holder within the constraints of their budget.
Which in turn, it's up to the board, depending on how much money is given to the office to provide the money for those services.
Well, how did you come to the conclusion on what offices get cut?
Because it's not all offices getting cut, or just certain ones?
There's 4, correct? 4.
And which are,
Which offices?
yeah, I wasn't here for that, so I apologize for that.
In the budget that we have proposed now, the state's attorney will go from 3 assistants to 2. The circuit clerk, upon retirement of one of their people in that office, we will not fund that office for the remainder of the year. The treasurer will not fill the vacancy that they have, which will reduce that by 1, and the county clerk will go from 2 to 3. Or 3 to 2.
Correct, but the treasurer is filling the vacancy, but with part-time.
That's right.
which
Yeah.
was what had been discussed.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, as far as no full-time position, it will go to a part-time position.
Why our office?
We looked at the overall county, and we looked at the jobs and for the work that could be done with less employees. And like I say, until the job study is done, I wish that we'd have had that done, because it might come to fruition that we might need these people. But for right now, we looked at what could be done in each office by doing more with less, and this is what we came up with.
I have a question then.
Okay.
If it would be determined by the cost study that there is needed in the, and I'm gonna put all of us together here.
Okay.
Each of one of these offices, each one of us need these, where's that money gonna come from then?
Now that's a good question, and we will have to deal with that when the time comes, but like I say, right now, we're making our decisions based physically, or fiscal, on what we have, by also money, and by the overall, the jobs need to be done to get the work done. And answer your question, Terry, I don't know, we'll just have to take a look at that. I don't know, because we don't have the money now. I don't know where we'll have it in 3 months. I wish I could answer that question.
I guess I do have a hypothetical based off of that though, which is that if the time study's done, then let's say that, here's an example, that the treasurer's office is deemed to need 1 less than they have, and another office is deemed to need 1 more. Let's just say it's the clerk's office for now. Need 1 more. At that time, do we have an amendment to the budget that's voted on that can make that change mid-year? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense to postpone that another 6 months before a needed change is made. Do we have the ability to amend the budget mid-year?
You can amend it down.
Yeah, we're not.
That's what I'm saying. For one thing, if you pass the budget the way it is, and the cost study comes back and says, and if you did have the money, you can't amend the budget up anyway, so.
You can move money around, so like one can go down and one can go up. You just can't increase the total dollar value of the budget.
Where is that money going to go down from to go up here, though, is what I'm saying.
I was
In
saying
that
what
example,
Alex.
in that
his
example, it would come from a different office.
Well, I
but-
understand, but
Yeah. Your question is, what if there is no finding that any office should be reduced? What happens then?
So that brings a question up on behalf of mine is, as we know, it was Teresa that was talking of retirement, but there has been a situation in my office to where she may end up having to stay because I have one that's gonna be out on medical leave for an extended amount of time, starting in July to August. So Teresa, I can't make her retire, and she's only verbally spoke about it, so I have nothing in writing, and then I'm gonna be having one going out. So then I would be 2 down if that's the case, but I mean, if she is not gonna retire, I can't force her to retire. Because I don't have anything in writing, and she's never definitely said, she was just talking when they were doing the early retirement, and that's possibly what she was wanting to do. But now in this other situation, she said she's not gonna just up and leave me empty-handed, because I'm gonna have one that's gonna be out for a minimum of at least 8 weeks.
In July.
Just depends when they can get the procedure done, but it's already been approved, and that's, her doctor's working with her, and it's tentative July or August, which is the same time when Teresa was planning on retiring. So it's the same division, and, you know, Teresa's been training this person, so I don't have enough coverage because it's also the position when my other one left. So, you know, Teresa's like, I'm not gonna leave you because then you're gonna be 2 down in that same division. So I'm just throwing that out there because she is for sure gonna be on a medical leave, the other one that I'm speaking of, and I'm not gonna disclose who it is at this point. But that's just, I'm just throwing that scenario out there because we're gonna be crossing that path here pretty soon.
So I don't understand, in our office, Kelsey's been there for 3 years. We're gonna lose our employee that's been there for 3 years when you have other offices that has employees that's only been there a month. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know who's been here a month. You have employees that's been here not, what, 2, 3, 4 months, when we have an employee that's been here for 3 years. Now, that's just not fair.
We also have the lowest payroll out of the 3 offices, and I'm not talking about whether they need their employees or whether they don't need their employees. The other offices, I'm talking about my office. We still, even with the 3 employees we have, the 3 employees that the other 2 offices on the first level have, we are the lowest payroll in that. And if you're trying to tell me that we do not need 3 people working in that office, I would like for each of you to look at me and tell me that then, because of the workload. When you have neighboring counties that are smaller than us that have 3 employees in their offices.
So as office holders, we all agree that we have to balance this budget. But, I mean, and it's common, and I mean, and I understand it, that people are protecting their office, and I get that.
It's because that's our responsibility.
And I get that, and it's our responsibility to look at fiscally what we can afford to run the most efficient government that we can with the money that we have. So we have to look at this from an administrative level, and we have to get this money somewhere. So something's got to give.
Okay, I'm asking again. If you don't think I need 3 employees in the office, I want you to look at me and tell me that, each one of you. Because if that's not the reason, then there's got to be some other way to do this.
Then we would have to take somebody else, is what you're saying. We'd have
I'm not
to-
saying that.
Well, I'm saying we have
That's
to
not
have
my
money.
responsibility.
I know that.
That's your responsibility. I'm just telling, if you're reducing my staff because you feel that the workload is not there, I'm asking you to stand, to look at me in the face and say, Terry, you do not need 3 employees in your office.
I think fiscally, until we can get a time study,
I'm not talking about fiscally, because that's not fair. You could do that to every office then.
that we could.
You could take an employee away from every office and say fiscally, we can't do this, and I'm not telling you to do that or asking you to do that. I'm just saying, do you believe, and I'm asking this of each one of you, do you believe I do not need 3 employees in my office? And I want an answer from all of you.
I'm saying for a short-term period at least, that
That's not an answer to the question, Nick.
well,
Do you believe I need 3 employees? That's either a yes or no answer, what that is.
and I can't say that right now, that I am at liberty to say that, because until it comes back, that I know with the time study, we're making a decision here that we can get the work done more with less until we do the time study, and in the meantime, balance the budget.
So you're saying my office is the office that you're going to take the employee away from, even though you don't know whether I actually need that employee or not? Because you haven't done time.
I'm saying you're one of the 4 that,
I'm going to be laying off an employee.
and that's very,
I'm going to have to walk into the office and tell the employee, as of this date, you're no longer employed here.
During one of the busiest times that our office can be in. And we have to do the election, there is no way to.
no, I know that.
Election has to be done.
So I'm not going to get an answer from any of you?
I'm not comfortable. I never have been comfortable with it, but
Not comfortable with what?
with you laying off another employee, but
I'm asking you individually. Mr. Feller, do you believe that I need 3 employees or 2 employees, or you do not know?
With the information I have too.
With the information, you believe I only need 2 employees. Mr. Miller?
I refer to what Danny said as far as the time study. I realize that it will put more pressure on the remaining employees in there, including yourself, but I think it can be done.
I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying, why are you expecting my office to be the office to handle that burden alone?
I'm not. There's 4 offices.
But none of them are taking cuts right now.
Well,
Well, we didn't fill a position in my office, so I don't think
I'm-
it's not fair to say workload. It's fair to say, yeah, you have to talk to somebody about a layoff, but we've got workload issues as well. I mean, I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying I can talk about the work we have to, I'm working right now. That's what I'm doing right now, at this moment. Everyone in my office is working. So I'm not saying you don't do or don't need people, that's the commissioner's decision, but, I can say the same thing in my office.
And I would say the other 3 could say the same thing, and have.
but Terry, as you can tell, I don't have the fix for it, you know.
I don't want to lay anybody off, period. I mean, maybe a lot of people think I do, but I don't. I wish we could hire 28 more. But like I said this morning, somebody come up with an idea on money and I'll gladly look at it, but there is none.
Okay, let me ask this question. And money being aside,
It can't be aside.
well, I'm talking about, I asked the question of my office needing 2 or 3 employees. That was my question.
I think your office can get by with 2 employees.
Then my question to that is, why do you think neighboring counties that are smaller than us have more employees than what we would have then? Why do you think they hire that many
I
people?
don't have a clue. I'm not worried about neighboring counties. I've got all I can do to take care of this county. I can't compare what other people do. I mean, Perry County's laid off 4 deputies. I can't compare. I'm just saying, next November 30th, things are gonna be worse. And I'm having to make a tough decision shooting down the road, not just for today or this election. Next year, the year after. And I, you know, that, I'm just saying, that's my outlook on it. I mean, there's 100 pennies in a dollar.
Dale?
No, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't know what the answer is, but no, I'm not comfortable with it.
I just wanted to know how people stood, and I didn't know before now.
My question then, are you okay? I mean, because I'm gonna refer this to the board.
Yes, go ahead.
My question is, Max said he doesn't want to lay anybody off, neither do I don't think Alex does. You two have said that you're not comfortable with what we've got. Then my question is, you can't separate the two. You have to look at this with the fiscal, you know, with the money situation, with the budget. So my question is, without this, without these layoffs, then what do we do? What do we do then? I know you're not comfortable. I'm not comfortable laying off. I don't want to do that. I'd like for everybody to be fully staffed on what they say they need. I would love to be able to do that. But in all reality, we can't. So my question is, at this juncture, what do we do?
We're disagreeing about one thing, and that's priorities. Some would prioritize spending surplus, or not surplus, they're spending the reserves over a layoff. Some would split, that's it. There's really no other discussion because there's no other revenue source. Other than
That is the
reserves.
only, that's the only resource we have is,
It's a question of whether or not we want to tap into those or not, that's it. And to Tyler's point earlier, which is that what is the alternative? That is the only alternative we arrived at this point. There is no more to cut, there's no more to take from. It would be reserves or layoff.
that's pretty well it.
And I don't mean to do that to oversimplify, it's just
No,
that
that's it.
this is the, I think, from what I'm hearing, this is the hinge. This is why the vote was split, and so let's call a spade a spade. Some of us are comfortable with tapping into reserves, some of us are not.
And the only problem with that, I mean, I wish we had more reserves to do that. If we spend a bunch of the little bit of reserves we've got, paychecks are gonna start bouncing. You know that. That's how it stays afloat. So, you know, I don't want somebody calling me up on payday and saying, hey, my check bounced, what's going on? That's where we'll be. So, you know,
Well, ultimately, it's your decision. I mean,
And it's a tough decision.
I
I know you.
I just don't
I mean,
understand,
the conversation before, Terry.
I just don't understand the, how you came up with, where you came up with.
Yeah, certain offices get cut instead of going across the board and saying everybody get cut. That's my question.
That actually, Brandy, is something that Tyler brought up before the meeting, is how did we come about this?
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, I mean, a safe way is to say, okay, everybody takes a cut, which has been done in the past. But that might not be the most efficient way to do this, because there's jobs as an administrator we have to look at as a whole to make sure that the county is still running, and what do we see from a bird's eye view of what can we do, where can we make the cuts and still have the county function. I mean, and we had to look at that, and that's, from a bird's eye view, that's what we came up with, that we can ask these offices to do more with less, that still leaves them employees that we think could get the job done until we come, whatever it is, with a job study, you know, with a time study that says, well, we could allocate this to go over here and this to come back here or whatever, and we'll look at it at that time. But for a bird's eye view from an administrative level, this is what we looked at, that we can still function as a county and ask people to do more with less and still get it done. Because hopefully, we haven't cut anybody to the point that says, I just can't get this done. You know, because I know Tyler would love to have his assistant state's attorney. And it's going to be work for him and his people to get this done. Same as the circuit clerk, the county clerk, and the treasurer. We've asked everybody that we have here to do more with less, and it's going to be hard. It's a hard decision for us to make, but just to say, cut across the board and say, okay, Scott, you're losing one, you're losing one, you're going to lose one. You know, yeah, as far as a sense of fairness, that might be fair for everybody to do that, but we think that we can do this and still come and get the job done.
How much money did you save by cutting these positions?
I have to refer to that.
I can't give you an amount offhand. I'd have
Enough
go
to
back
balance.
and calculate it. I mean, you're probably talking about, if it's a level 1 position, what is it, 35,000 plus 25,000 plus benefits. It's probably close to 40 grand for a level 1. And then, you know, for Tyler's assistant state's attorney, what were they,
Probably 50 was benefits.
50
County benefits.
counting benefits, so.
It's 38, that's the salary.
Teresa's was at like 35 plus her benefits, so probably 55 or 60.
$200,000?
Close to.
So if you guys review, I mean, you're saying based off the information that you have, what information do you have? I mean, has there been a time study in the past? Have you guys pulled anything? Because I thought when we moved into the new courthouse, they did a time study as far as people that went into offices.
Not that I'm aware of. I wish we had it, but no.
I know Kim did a cost study for us, but we never did actually get the cost study.
She never did supply
Yeah,
cost.
because we had a cost study before when Bobby was in office. And I can't remember exactly what they said, how many employees that we needed. Do you remember, Bobby?
I think that was a cost study as it related to raising fees. So I don't think that wasn't looking at workload, it was looking at justifying. It was looking at the costs of the office as it relates to the fees. So I don't think that would have that information. The only thing I think that might have any information like that would be maybe the dispatch study that was done in the sheriff's office, but I'm not really familiar with that. That's the only thing I'm aware of that would have any of that type of
Yeah, I didn't know if the
information.
cost study that Kim should have done had that information or
I
not.
think it was just a fee study.
Yeah, it was
Study, yeah.
fees. So I go back, guys, to say, to fill this deficit, and we're talking approximately $200,000, then what's the fix? And I think Alex kind of summed it up. It's either we dip into the reserves, and to be honest with you, we dip into reserves and put a Band-Aid on it.
The floodgates open for every single time that a cut is made that we don't like, we look at the reserves and think there's a solution to get us through, and it's not. That's not a path we want to go down as a county.
I mean,
In my opinion, I don't think that it is.
but I mean, for you guys that said that you've got a problem with this, is that what you're looking at, is the reserves?
I said I didn't have an answer,
Yeah.
and I know about that, so.
It's also worth remembering that the vote to post the budget is not a vote to pass the budget itself, and so by posting it, we are not making an official action.
That's true.
We're doing the duty of posting it so the public can be more informed about what it's composed of. So today is not the final vote. I know that's not me kicking the can down the road, it's just a matter of fact is that maybe an idea would come up if somebody else were to have their eyes on this, but for the 5 of us who have looked at it, these are our options.
Say something, Bobby. That's accurate, what Alex said. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that, you know, the longer you wait, the more money I have to put into the budget, which means you're gonna have to tell me where to take it from. And that's up to you, whatever you wanna do, but if you prolong it, then, you know, we have more, salary and more payroll, and so I just need to know where it's coming from.
So you budgeted assuming that this will pass by the end of the month?
I've budgeted this, that
Right.
the circuit clerks isn't until July, so that doesn't affect this, and Tyler hasn't filled his, Darren hasn't filled his. Terry's office is the only one that would keep accruing, and right now it's in there, like I had mentioned in my email, for, to go through the end of, 2 weeks from today.
Till the end of the month.
Yeah, the end of the month. That's
And
what's in there.
And I was gonna say, I'm gonna need the answers as far as with my situation too, so if you guys pass it, I mean, you're gonna have to meet with me or keep it in consideration, because I know that Teresa's not gonna go out in July and leave me hanging with too short. And I mean, also with my budget, I mean, I pay for 4 out of special funds and 3 is what the county pays, so. And by paying the 4 out of special funds, I've been depleted because I'm one of the employees, and I know it's not been said across the board, I pay for fringe and the health insurance and everything for the 4. So that's why my special funds have been depleted the last couple of years.
Right.
Any other comments? Anybody like to make? Okay, we'll bring it up again on the agenda, the approval of the fiscal year 2018 Union County tentative budget. Is there a motion?
To be clear, this isn't the approval to post.
Yes.
Yes.
Tentative.
I'll make a motion to do so.
Second?
Commissioner Feller,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartline.
Yes, sir.
Motion carried.
I have a question. I know we're in union contracts. Have you actually talked to the union saying, because I know our office, it says it's supposed to be staffed at 3. Have you talked to the union to let them know, hey, that we've done this to the budget and you're going, some offices are losing employees and some positions won't be filled?
They should be probably notified of the possibility now that one is going, well, will be posted.
But I think
The
before
official
that,
action
Randy,
hasn't
you've
been
been
taken.
premature.
Okay, well, that's why I was wanting to know, because
Yeah.
I'm sure there's gonna be some grievances filed.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now the possibility is there, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and you are correct. Now's the time. It had been premature before that.
Okay.
Okay, got a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn.
That's your call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Feller,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Did I say Feller
Yeah, you
again?
did.
My brain didn't say it. Commissioner Toller,
Commissioner Hartline.
Yes, sir.